Coming to you live from It's Always Sunny in Seattle studios, this is Open Mic, a podcast about art, inequality, and the troubles of living in 2024 America. I am your host, Mike. Before we get started with our interview episode, though, a little announcement. Tears of Gaza has made its way into the hands of so many of you that don't want to scroll up. That's right. If you want to read my book and you go to my Threads account and scroll up through my timeline, eventually you'll see all the poetry that's in there, with the exception of two. If scrolling up doesn't sound fun, and let's face it, it's not, well, the engineer scientists here at Raw Plus Seattle have developed a solution. It costs $4, and you'll find the link in the show notes to the Apple book. Today I'll be interviewing Xana the Ram, and I'm going to open with a poem I wrote for her. Wait. Wait for love to find you, instead of tireless seeking. It will when it's true, and it's totally worth keeping. Hello, and everybody. Welcome to the Open Mic Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. I'm very happy to introduce you to one of my biggest inspirations, Roxanna Ortiz. Please introduce yourself, and what are your pronouns?
Hi, my name is Roxanna Ortiz. I go by Xana currently. My pronouns are she, her. And very nice to be on your podcast. I'm super excited that we're finally doing this.
I know. It's a long time coming. I've wanted to have you on the podcast since I conceived of the idea of it. We've been talking about this for a while.
We have. We've been talking about this for over 2 years, especially because I know you're really political. So I'm really excited that you're doing this and you're inviting other artists to be a part of your podcast as well.
Tell us a little bit about your past work.
Well, where do I start?
Well, what do you do first off?
Well, currently I work for Como 4, the Seattle's #1 news station, as a photojournalist. So I'm the person that carries the big ass camera for the reporters. So when they're reporting on their story, I'm the person in charge of gathering footage and making sure they look nice on TV. Multidisciplined, I should say. I take photos, I do video, I sing, I create music. I enjoy multiple forms of art, and I breathe air like it's art, bro. Like, that's my shit. But mostly, I love photography, I love video, so that's what I'm mostly focused on. But I absolutely can't live without it. I have to have my hands on a camera, I have to be behind a camera, I have to tell a story, whether it's through video, through photo, through painting, through music. I have to have it. I have to do it.
Tell us a little bit about a piece of art you completed in the past that you're really, really, really proud of.
It's really hard because I've had about 15 years of dedicating myself to creating something. Recently, probably two things. At the end of my contract while I was in the Marine Corps, I was working on this video about the first Black female Marine in the Marine Corps, and for some reason the Marine Corps didn't have many records of her. They knew who she was, but for some reason there just wasn't much on her, and that kind of like made me feel bad. I was like, we know who the first female Marine is, Opha Mae Johnson. We know who all these, amazing heroic Marines are in war. Like, we have Chesty, but like, why don't we know anything about the first female Black Marine? That's fucking important. And I wasn't satisfied I wasn't satisfied with any information that was online currently. So I said, I'm gonna fucking fix that. And I went out of my way. My leadership didn't make me do this, but I dug through records. I figured out her name was Annie Graham. And so I just went through anything I could find. I turned on my girl stalker investigative mode, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna find this lady, or find her family, or find anything connected to her.
I'm gonna pause you there for a minute, because that's something that I really, really enjoy about spending time with you. You go into this, I describe it as Scooby-Doo mode. Let's talk a little bit about what makes Scooby-Doo mode special.
Well, I don't know. I think all women have it. We have this little investigative mode that we go into, online memes say it as like, oh, we're stalkerish. It's like, yeah, but we just have a different way of processing information. because we just need to know. It's like the tea you have to have. And that's for me how I think about it. So if it's like, if people present me with a mystery, I'm like, bro, I bet you I can figure this shit out. I don't know. Maybe it's come from like social media being introduced when I was a child. And I'm like, oh, you can find out people's like mutual friends through their mutual friends. And you can find a lot about somebody based off of what they share online. And everything that someone shares online is a little, I would say, a little spotlight into their life. And if you know people well, you know, you have your psychology degree, and you know social dynamics well, you can figure out a lot about somebody just based off the little bit that they put online. And so in a way, I use that skill to help inform what I do, whether it's finding a contact for this one company that we want to work for, or oh no, like we got to find out what happened to this missing girl just because, you know, it happens in our local town, or, you know, you need to find a contact for, you need to find more information about a person you admire and you want to do a documentary on them. I use that skill like daily. And that's something that I really like about working with you, is because you also have that, like, that ability to want to investigate something, whether it's like criminal true crime stuff we see on Netflix, or like something in real life, or just, you know, we need to get this information. You have that ability too. I think that's why we work really well together.
Oh, for sure. We're both creeps.
We're both stalkers.
So tell us a little bit about how you found the first female Marine. Let's talk about that. Like, what was your process? How did you come to meet her? And what kind of you talked a little bit about what fueled that project, the fact that she was kind of unknown, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea about her. I mean, we thought forever that, like, it's a joke in the Marine Corps that we thought Alpha Mae Johnson was black just because of her name. But, you know, no one knew about who the first female black Marine was. And that's so important. I mean, especially during a time when, you know, when women joined the Marine Corps, it was still during a time of segregation. And just to know that that probably was a huge impact on this person made me want to find out more. I was like, dude, we got to find out who Annie Neal Graham is. Like, I want to know. And so it just started with something simple as looking up her name. I looked up her name. I was trying to find out relatives of this person. I, you know, gathered based off of when this person was born that they're probably no longer alive. So I looked at obituaries. I try to look at pictures, because sometimes the pictures, if you Google someone's name and you look at images, sometimes there's more information that pops up in those images captions that can give you more information to your next search. So I did that. I found out that this person had children based off of an ancestry thing. I started looking at ancestry. I'm like, okay, ancestry, show me a family tree. If I can find a relative who's, you know, younger, like a daughter or a son or some kind of relative, I can find more information. I can maybe contact them. And so I went on to Ancestry, and I started looking at family trees, and I saw Annie Neal Graham, and I saw some children. But then I saw an obituary for one of her children, and I was like, okay, that's sad. So I hope she has more relatives. And then I looked at, you know, survived by, right? Usually on obituaries you have survived by, and so I looked at survived by, and they had a couple names. And so I guess, what's the right word, corroborate, when you match two pieces of information together. I took the names that were on the son's obituary to the family tree that I saw on Ancestry, and I saw a person's name on there. So I looked up that relative's name onto Facebook, and then what popped up was like a reverend somebody, I don't know their name anymore, but with not the same last name, but someone that was on the obituary and the family tree. So this person was a reverend, so I was like, oh, bro, reverends are like pretty much mini celebrities. They got to have contact information about their church. If I can find the church's number, I can contact the reverend. So I looked up the church, I found the church's number, and I called. I say, hi, do you know Annie Neal Graham? Like, is that your mom? Like, I found your name on Facebook. It's a really long story. He's like, no, that's not my mom. That's my mother-in-law. She's passed, but I'm married to her daughter. And I was like, can I, like, this is going to sound really weird. I'm I'm a corporal in the Marine Corps, and I'm just doing the story on the first Black female Marine. I don't know if you, like, that's her, the same person that I'm trying to find. That's like the mother of your wife. And he said, yeah, I'm also a Marine. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, so the Reverend was a Marine. So I started talking to him, and I kind of gained his trust by saying, like, well, thank you for your service. Like, and so he passed the phone to his wife. And that's how I found the daughter of the first female Black Marine. And I reached out to my leadership, and I'm like, bro, I found all this information on her, and she's got documents, she has pictures, she has all this information. We have to do this, especially for like Black History Month, you know, because I left the service around that time after February, like right at the end of February. So this is my this is literally the last project that I wasn't even assigned to in the first place. My friend was doing it, and she was like, well, I can't find any information on it, so I'm just gonna kind of whatever, do what I can. And I was like, I wasn't satisfied. She was yeah, but she was pregnant, and she wasn't having the best time. Fair. When you're in the Marine Corps, like, you don't blame other people for whatever reason, their lack of enthusiasm. It's a hard place to be in, so I didn't blame her. But for me, the type of person I am, I really, like, one, having a mystery excites me, but also, like, I really cared about having that information out there, because when you have other brown people in the same community as you that's gone through a struggle, you find hope in that. So it makes it, I don't know, it was just like, it's such a huge important piece of information that obviously the Marine Corps didn't give a shit about. So I gave a shit about it, and I did a video on it, and I conducted a Zoom call with Stephanie, that's her name, the daughter's name, and the video is online. It's she has it, it's out on Divids, it's out there. So if anyone ever tries to do something again that's related to, you know, the first Black female Marine, at least that video is out there. That Zoom that I conducted is out there. So there's more information out there now because I did that legwork.
They're likely referencing your work too.
Yeah, and you know, she has letters. Like, honestly, I would like to go back out there and do a more formal documentary, if I could. There's a lot of information there. Even though, you know, Annie Neal Graham, she didn't much talk about struggles she went through in boot camp. She referenced it very slightly about, you know, the racism she had to endure. But her daughter mentioned that, you know, she didn't really talk much about the Marine Corps, even though she served for about, like, probably 3 years total.
And she was the first.
She was the first. You know, she also joined with the second. And it was an integrated platoon. It was not segregated. It was integrated. So I couldn't imagine, like, the things that she dealt with. But, you know, some things she didn't feel like talking about in her letters, and that's okay. The fact that we know about that, like, and the fact that that was one of the first videos, even though I didn't edit the video, I still gathered the information for that. I was really proud of that project because that was solely my idea. Like, if I didn't care, that video would not exist now. That information would not be out there. And so that's why I do what I do. It really defines the way I think about people and their stories. I care about it like it's mine.
What is your process going into a new art project?
Well, it depends on the medium. Usually video, I always like to have some kind of real life story or real life narrative involved with that. I mean, everything I've really worked on that I've been proud of has a real story. Like Annie Neal Graham, the first African American Marine. I did a story for a video for a nonprofit. It's about caregivers receiving gifts and days of relief from their daily work of having to care for other people so they don't feel burnout. And I did that, and that had a story behind it, and it was a positive story to document. This new project I'm taking on is also a positive story. It's an empowerment story, but it's also revealing struggles that we all face. Maybe that's kind of the theme of my art, is revealing struggles that we all face so we can connect better.
Like, what do you find personally most fulfilling with your film work?
I like a little bit of both. I like a little bit of digging for a deeper story, but I also like telling stories that should be told, that deserve to be told. But typically those things go hand in hand. There's a lot of stories that deserve to be told that have little to no information, or, you know, little witnesses or little people, you know, like not a lot of references for the story, and you have to find that. And that's kind of what happened with my Annie Graham's story. There was a little bit of information, but there's a story there. So I'm like, no, this deserves to be told. People need to know. But I also understood that I took on, like, and having to investigate this, and possibly the reality of not finding any information and not being able to tell it. And honestly, I think that's the thing that kills me. That's the thing I cannot accept, is like, I know if it's a good story and there's information out there, there has to be more. This has to be told. I'm not satisfied with no. I'm not satisfied with, sorry, your results are not found on Google. I'm like, too bad. I'll go to a library. I will call anyone who's related to this person. I don't care. I will fucking find the information. Because it deserves to be told. It's important. You know, history is written by the victors. So the history that's, you know, forgotten about or burned up, it's people like me, it's our responsibility to make sure it's told so it helps inform our future.
Have you always been a fan of detective stories?
Oh, God, yeah. My mom literally made me read Nancy Drew. And when, you know, I was fortunate. I had a computer growing up. My mom was like, oh, look, they have Nancy Drew games. And I was like, okay. So that's something we would do together. So the idea of Nancy Drew and mysteries was introduced to me early on. So I think it's my mother's fault because of that. My mom likes mystery books too. So it's the slow burn. It's like the idea that something that, you know, that information or that clue is like right there, it's right out of your reach, but if you were just like, if you just made sure you dotted your I's and crossed your T's, you could get it. Like, it's the ability to, like, just reach out and grab that information. I think that's the part. It's the challenge. The challenge is the enticing part for me. I like a challenge. I'm competitive, so for me, I'm like, if I can find this information and no one can, then it shows that I'm like, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, but also I just care. And I think the caring part of me really drives me to solve the mystery, you know?
Yeah, the mystery solving. It's like a Scooby snack, if you will.
It's just satisfying. And also, like, the best part of it is you can solve a mystery for good.
Now on this show, we get political, so I hope you're ready for this next question.
Yes.
The season finale of Sherlock. Thoughts?
I'm a big fan of Sherlock. I love Benedict Cumberbatch in Sherlock. I loved it, but the season finale was ass. Like, it was just like lazy. And you know, they introduced the sister onto the show, which is cool. But like now, I'm like, you're gonna say you're not gonna make any more series or any more seasons of this show, and then introduce one of the most interesting characters and then not talk about it. But like, you do it so rushed, and like they rush this like thing about it, which is fine. I think it's because they probably lost a budget or whatever, and I get that. But like, Watson, they kill off his wife, and I'm like, bro, too many tragedies. I think Before the last season was good, and I liked the first episode of the first season.
Oh, the first episode of the first season was fantastic.
Or sorry, the first episode, backtrack, cut this out. The first episode of the last season was good because it was a little funny. Is that the
boomerang one?
No, the first episode of the last season was when I think Sherlock reveals himself. He's like, "Oh, I'm not dead. Hey, Watson, by the way, for the past 2 years, I haven't been dead."
Oh, yeah.
I like that one because it's playful. Like, when they go into the comedy bits of, like, Sherlock and Watson, it's funny. But then when they go more into, like, the mystery parts, it's actually... Some are written well, but that last season was not written as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I liked about the show is the interplay between those two characters. I think...
But the comedy.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch, he was just funny. And I think they had a lot of good chemistry on set. But it felt like they relied too much on him having magic mind powers on the last season.
Well, I mean, define magic, like, mind powers, because you have to accept that Sherlock has this ability of deduction.
Yeah.
More than any other human being other than his relatives, right? So in a way, you have to, like, assume that he can see things a normal person can't. And so when you assume that he can put two and two together based on these like factoid things that you or me couldn't pick up, then you can, I think, accept the show a bit and how someone might behave under certain circumstances.
Oh,
so
no, totally.
Him doing that is just like, 10 times more advanced than ours. So there you go.
But getting back on topic, the finale?
It was butt.
Yeah,
it was booty.
Fun. I think we can both agree on
The finale was booty for sure.
Amor y Fuerza. Please tell us a little bit about it, what you're doing with it. I want to know.
So Amor y Fuerza is a documentary celebrating Latin women's journeys in America, and more specifically, how they've struggled to keep their cultural identity living in America, being Latina, And for those of you who might not know, I mean, you should fucking know, but if you don't, I'm gonna, there's multiple Latin communities. It's not just Mexicans, there's Puerto Ricans, there's Cubans, there's Venezuelans,
What?
There's Colombians, there's Argentinians, there's Dominican peoples. There's so many of us living in America, and there's a lot of first, second, third generation Latinos living here, and something that happens is, you're a part of two cultures. You have to assimilate into American culture, but also keep your brought over culture. And for everyone, that's different. Their struggle with keeping both, or, pushing away one or for the other, that happens. For me, it happened when I was younger, and it kind of created this feeling of, where do I belong? I feel like I don't belong anywhere. I feel like, I feel lonely because there's not a lot of people that look like me, but also I have to assimilate into this white community. But at the same time, feel the pressure of make sure you're Mexican, like you're Latin first, and it's like this weird pull between these two communities. And that's exhausting. But for me, that manifested into self-hate. And that's why I'm doing this documentary. So other people who may have experienced that same thing, they don't turn to self-hate. They just, instead they turn to other people who have experienced that same thing. And they can feel supported. They can feel like, they can identify what that internal turmoil is, right? They're like, okay, I'm not alone. There's ways I can deal with this. And you're part of like a really tiny community. You feel alone. You feel like everyone around me is not going to accept that, or I can't talk about music that I like because no one else listens to that. I don't know. I just felt like I couldn't be myself for a long time in my workplace. Not that I couldn't. I would be myself. I just didn't feel good about it, And so I didn't realize what that depression was. I just felt so like alone and like living here, and I just didn't want anyone else to feel that way. But I also wanted to highlight the incredible Latino people who are here, who are doing things, who are being successful, who are like, they're the giants in the community. I wanted to highlight them, shine a light on our community that may be small, but it's here. The Latin women that I interview are so incredible. Like, I am so proud to have met them, and I'm proud that I'm even interviewing them, getting to talk to them. I'm happy that I'm connecting, like, I'm finding my community at the same time highlighting it so others can, connect. It was kind of a journey for me too. And I'm kind of realizing this as I'm like doing these interviews. It's not only a journey that I'm showing for these women, but it's also a journey for me putting this project together. Me discovering, wow, there's a bigger community here than I initially thought. And I'm happy to be wrong.
Yeah,
but I'm happy to invite more people to spout off about their accomplishments. We want to see them. Maybe that's what this documentary is, what it should be. I want it to be a beacon. I want it to be a beacon. I want it to be a healing touchstone. I want it to be like just something that people can watch and feel better coming out of, whatever they're dealing with. Whether that's, I want to find more people in my community, or whether it's like I'm dealing with self-hate and, there's all my friends are white, and I've chosen these parts of this American culture that I live in to become my own culture. But, I don't want to forget about the culture that brought me here. People who struggle with cultural identity. It's for those people to watch. Like, but, you know, specifically Latin women, just because I feel like women also struggle with a second layer of issues alongside minorities. So I wanted to also put that there. Like, hey, these are, it's, you know, any Latino can watch this, but this is for specifically Latinas. You know, we feel there is this machismo culture, and I would say the majority of Latin cultures, and I want it to be a way to push women to feel like they're proud of their own culture and to not push it away because of, you know, American patriarchy.
When you started talking to me about this project, the piece of it that I really gravitated to and I was really excited to see is the intersectionality there. Because like you said, talk to us a little bit about the format of these interviews. Like, how do they go? What do you do? And then how do you present this to your audience?
I employed the help of my coworker. Her name's Paula Llamas, and she's actually, well, she was a reporter for Univision, because I knew I couldn't do this by myself. I was like, bro, I don't have the same connection to Seattle as maybe Latinas who have lived here their entire life. So I knew I was going to need some help. I asked my coworker Paula if she would want to be someone to be interviewed, and she said, "Oh, I like your idea. I'll be yes, I'll be your interviewee, but I also have other people that would be good for this project." So so Paula, she said, "I have a judge and possibly a representative from Washington State House, yes, to be interviewed. They really want to do this." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is way bigger than I thought this project would go." Not to say it's bigger because there's, you know, women with bigger platforms, but a little bit. Okay, when a judge and a representative say, "Hey, I like your project, I want to do this," it makes you feel good. But, you know, the fact is this is important no matter what for myself to do. But now that I had other women reaching out with much bigger shoulders, it made my head turn, and it made me think, okay, I need to get a little bit more serious about this project, because, like, maybe it should, you know, it deserves to be seen by more than my family or more than a couple of my friends. Everyone should see this, you know? And maybe it is important because now all these other women are saying, dude, I want to do this. I think this is a good project. So I felt validated with my idea because it was kind of just something for myself. But now I know that more women probably feel like me, and it should be bigger and shared to more people. So I've kind of focused my project on making it a little bit more documentarian style instead of just something more like feature-y. So I don't know. I'm still kind of deciding whether I want to make this a series or make this one whole like long documentary, like a 30-minute thing. Or I'm not sure. And that's kind of the part that, you know, most people in Hollywood or in the filmmaking industry would be like, well, you should have planned this out from the start and really thought about what the end result is. But honestly, fuck that, because I'm an artist and I ride the journey of what art is. It's not just about the end, it's about the journey. And my journey currently is figuring out how I'm going to present this for the rest of the world. And that's okay. I don't always know all the answers, but I'll figure it out, and it's going to be fire no matter what. Honestly, I'm kind of deciding whether I want to bring in more people, because I'm not sure if I want to do, like I said, a series on individuals or just something bigger, like a really long documentary. Because there's, like, while I've been doing this, I've been finding way, like, more Latinas, like, popping out of the woodworks. Like, not even when I'm trying to find them, they just kind of come around, and, like I was at my friend June's salon, and this lady who works for Alaska Airlines was just chatting with me, and we just ended up chatting about random stuff. But then I figured out she's Puerto Rican and Dominican, so she's another mix of, you know, Latina. I'm Mexican and Puerto Rican. She's Puerto Rican Dominican. So that split kind of culture thing, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I want to put her on my documentary, because she says she has a lot of shit about the airlines she could bring up, and she's always been in the service industry, so I think that'd be good. I've had other dudes come up to me, say, hey, I think this lady would be really good for your story. She works in tech. I think she would be good. And like, he was trying to reach out to her. So now that I've been sharing, hey, I'm doing this, people have been kind of like nominating people in their own communities, like, hey, you'd be good for this. Like, step forward, which is cool. Like, Billy, one of our neighbors, was trying to nominate someone, and I'm like, hey, maybe I am doing something really cool and really good for the community. And I don't know, it's been really positive interactions when I bring it up.
So, Amori Forza, when are you hoping to unleash this on us in the world?
It's January right now. I have one more interview to do, which is going to probably take me till February, and then I'm going to have to lay everything down. Honestly, I think it's going to take me like probably 4 to 5 months to complete. It would be ideal to release it during summer.
Who is your favorite artist on Threads right now?
J Pitt. Bro. Jonathan is so good with his portraits. I mean, if you don't follow him, he's gonna pop off. I mean, even if he doesn't pop off because that's not what he wants to do, whatever, has my respect as a portrait photographer. For so long, I have seen portrait photography as something more editorial, something more pretty, something nice to look at, but like, Jonathan just has a way of presenting a beauty and a human, whether it's them looking straight on, or like, there's portraits he's taken that some of these people aren't even looking at the camera, and you can see so much emotion, and I'm like, oh gosh.
I know the one you're talking about from the back of his
head.
head.
And it's like, how do you do that? But like, he just sees, I don't know, there's some breathless about his portraits. I'm so honored just to look at his shit. Like, I want to shoot more like that. And I think that's something that you've helped me with too, is street photography has really it's added a big or huge depth, or whatever. It's added more depth in my work, I would say. Being able to shoot street portraits or do street photography, that's informed a lot of my style now, is doing that, having that like muscle of doing street photography and then adding portraits with it. Because like before, I'm like, I really like studio stuff, and I liked, I've kind of always done portraits in like the urban environment, but like now walking the city and like taking photos of it all the time, I know all the good spots, and I don't know, I just feel like it's made my work way better. But his is like, I don't know if he connects with all of his subjects like really well, if he knows all his subjects, but it just seems like even if he doesn't know them, it feels like the way he takes photos and takes portraits is, I know immediately who that subject is. Like, I trust this person, and it's very warm. There's a warmth in his work.
There's a familial love.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know what it is. It's gorgeous though, and I want to figure out how to do that. And maybe that's not something, whether it's like a technique, maybe it's just something that's in here, like in your heart, where you have to just connect with someone in a different way.
It might be Jonathan's thumbprint.
It is. It's his part of his work, and I just think it's fucking incredible, and I want to shoot like that. And I'm trying to add my spin on it. Like, I want to shoot more emotional photos, more emotional portraits of people, but like still have a little bit of that like editorial look, because I'm a fan of being moody. I like moody things. I like darker, just like a little bit edge. Yeah, I like edgy, darker photography, if you haven't like noticed with my work. But I don't know, I want to take that idea and add a little bit of my spice on it. But this is his way of doing it, like without all that. He just takes the photo like really minimal editing. It's absolutely, and it's great. It's compelling, and I think I'm shooting for more compelling work and compelling shots, and I think that's why it takes me a while to like turn around photos on Threads or on Instagram, because I'm really going through my stuff and I'm like, what do I want to put out there that's compelling?
And that was the light of my life, Xana. You'll find links to all her socials in the show notes, and follow them. Odds are you already are. She's just that good. She is a never-ending creative spring with the resolve of a marine, a queen drinking from a canteen, if you will. Until next week, be progressive, stay creative.